Hey, fine people. Greg here. It's been a while since I've brought you a video, so I'm back. Today I want to bring to you a hot ticket item. It's been very common in the news. It's been something that's been very relevant in my life, and I'm sure it's been very relevant in your lives as well, whether you know it or not. But since it's brought to the forefront of our attention right now, a lot of people are thinking about it. If you're health conscious, if you're like me, or maybe like yourselves who kind of feel like crud on a day-to-day basis and you're just trying to do anything you can to feel a little bit better. But it's so damn confusing because we're told seed oils or, some things are good for us and some things are bad for us, right? Well, that brings me to the topic today. It's seed oils. We're now told, thanks to the new administration, that seed oils are bad for us. And if you've been following health on social media or in various platforms, you've probably seen videos of people demonizing seed oils in one way, shape, or form, saying they're bad for us. And then you've probably seen other organizations or other people saying, no, they're fine for us. And so, what is it? Are they good for us or are they bad for us? Is it that simple? And what should we do about it? Because who knows, because there's so much conflicting information. So I dove in, I did some research, and I think I got to the answer. And I was surprised by this because I used to have an assumption of seed oils based on what I had seen in social media, and I'm now changing my mind. So what are seed oils? Well, seed oils, we can also call them vegetable oils. They're things like soybean oil, peanut oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil. We can also have rice bran oil, and grapeseed oil. I think I already said that. Okay, and probably a few others as well, right? And these are often used in packaged foods. These are often used in cooking in restaurants and deep fryers. A lot of people buy this for home cooking because it's relatively inexpensive and we can cook it at a relatively high heat on the stovetop without it burning, without it stinking, and without adding funky flavors to our foods, right? That's where we know of them. Now, we're hearing a lot that these are bad for us after we've heard that maybe they're good for us. And, well, why are we hearing that they're bad for us? Well, we're hearing that they're bad for us because some people are saying that it leads to chronic inflammation, which can then lead to heart disease. Other people are showing correlation graphs showing that over the past 150 years, as seed oil consumption went up, so has obesity and other chronic ailments. People are saying that seed oils are industrially processed and have residues of solvents used to extract the oil from the seed, and thus they are very bad for us, okay? And they'll reference the correlation, they'll reference some rodent studies, they'll reference some mechanistic studies, and draw the conclusion, hey, these things are bad for you. I told you so. We need to eat these other oils instead. Olive oil, which is good for you. Yep. Coconut oil, yeah, pretty good for you. Saturated fat, if you have a cholesterol problem, could be an issue. And then even some are promoting animal fats, lots of butters and tallows and all that. And, sure, in moderation is fine for you. We got to be careful with that one because it leads to cholesterol. And if you're in the health sphere, you've probably seen so many videos demonizing seed oils that it seems true. But don't forget, the algorithms that feed you this information are feeding you not the truth, they are feeding you stuff that's going to keep you glued to your screen. So all of our views of the world, based on our technologies and our phones, it's really a skewed view based on what the algorithm knows we're going to watch. So if you've been getting a lot of information saying seed oils are bad for you, that may be because you watch it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So just keep that in mind. The algorithms that we see when we're watching videos are just feeding stuff that it thinks we're going to watch because it wants to keep us glued to the screen, not because there's any truth behind it. So I used to buy into this mentality that seed oils were bad for us and I would avoid them at all costs, to the fact where I'd say they're terrible for us. I can't believe they would feed them for us. But then recently, as I've been questioning that, because I was too far to one side, and I want to say, what's the other side seeing? I want to make sure that my views are well aligned with both sides so that I can come to my own conclusions, because I don't want to be taking my opinions from someone else who's just telling me this is the truth, because, it's not that simple in most cases. Not with health anyway. Health is far too complex. And so it turns out that seed oils, from what we can tell so far with the studies, are not bad for us. Yeah, because that's exciting because seed oils are in everything, right? If you go out to eat, if you eat packaged foods, then you probably have a bottle of it in your cabinet at home. And we don't want to necessarily throw that out. So what is going on? Why the contradiction? Well, let's get into the studies that show that seed oils are good for you. First of all, these are well-done studies, randomized clinical trials, and meta-analyses where they fed people seed oils and studied the effect on their bodies. It's not putting seed oils on cells in a petri dish. It's not feeding seed oils to a rat or a mouse and seeing the effect on that. It's not saying that here's this mechanism in the body, this thing leads to that, so it must be bad for you. That's all good information to have, but it does not by any means override information when you feed people a certain substance and measure the outcomes, right? And so this is the gold standard of research. And so every bit of high quality research we have on seed oils says, fortunately, it's not the seed oils that are bad for us. We know that ultra-processed foods are bad for us, but it's not necessarily because of the seed oils. And I bet if you were to replace seed oils with, say, olive oil, which I think most people would agree is good for us, that would still be bad for you because it's an ultra-processed food, okay? So here it is. 1, when you replace saturated fat with seed oils, there is no increase in cardiac or heart problems. And in fact, in many studies, there are improvements in heart conditions when you replace saturated fats like butters and sausages and things like that with seed oils, right? So it's neutral or protective for our hearts despite what is being said. And that's shown time and time again in these studies, okay? So that's 1. 2, seed oils don't cause inflammation. They've studied it. They fed people, they had a control group and a people eating seed oils, and they had seen that the people eating the seed oils have no appreciable increase in inflammation in their bodies. This has been shown time and time again by high quality research, okay? And so we have to believe this. And the third is that seed oils are industrially processed and may have this solvent called hexanes in it. It was actually one of the solvents they used to use in whiteout if you were around 25 years ago and used this stuff. But they do that so that you can get more seed oil extracted from the seed. And then they evaporate the hexane and then use it again to make more and more seed oil. There's a very trace amount of hexane remaining in the seed oil to levels that are well below the safety limits and the poisons in the dose. Because we all know, we've heard that, there have been a couple instances where people have chugged enough water to die, right? You can eat so much horseradish that it kills you, right? So the poison's in the dose, okay? And so they actually did a study where they gave people unrefined seed oils, where they just squeeze the seeds and let the oil drip out, and refined seed oils where they lead hexane, and there was no difference in the health of these individuals. Great news, right? I think so. The difference is, and the nice thing about the refinement using the hexanes is it's great for cooking, because without all the other stuff that's in there from just squeezing the seeds, you get a lot of plant matter in there. It has a very high smoke point, which means you don't get burnt flavors and other things in your food. So it turns out that seed oils, they're probably fine for you, okay? Based on the research we have no good quality evidence showing it's bad for us. Yes, there's always some low quality research that contradicts it, but right as we get more and more evidence, higher and higher quality, then that old evidence that may show that it's not good for you, we then learn, okay, there's reasons for that, but we now know it's not true, okay? So don't necessarily have to be scared of seed oils, all right? If you want to cook with them at home, I think that's fine. Unless it upsets your stomach or gives you problems. If that's the case, stay away from it. My mom has a sensitivity to soybean oil, okay? So for her, soybean oil, maybe not good for her because her body is literally telling her so. But if you feel fine when you eat the stuff, have at it. You probably also want to get in your diet some olive oils, if you can afford it, if you want to, and it's okay to eat some butters and saturated fats too, as long as your cholesterol is in check, right? But so you don't have to demonize it. And I think what the problem is seed oils are in everything that's kind of bad for us, right? Fried foods from restaurants. It's the main oil in ultra-processed foods. And they use it because it's cheap and it's a preservative. It helps extend the shelf life of the product, so we can understand why they use it. But we know that ultra-processed foods lead to health consequences, not because of the seed oils, right? There's so many other things in there that could cause health issues. we think it's, in the science, this isn't we, when we say we, it's the science says that ultra processed foods are just super delicious. They're made in a way that makes us want to keep eating them. It's like you can't eat that single potato chip. I know if I get a frozen pizza, I want to eat the whole thing. Box of mac and cheese, I want to eat the whole thing. Maybe it's just me, but like that's just how it is, right? So with ultra processed food, it makes us want to eat more. You eat more and gain weight. The body just doesn't handle gaining weight well, and that's the process. One of the major problems with ultra processed foods, and it also has maybe less nutrients, less fiber in it, right? And so eating too much ultra processed food generally causes us to overeat and gain weight, and that's what leads to the health problems that we see of today, to the best of our knowledge, okay? So for your health, it's okay to consume some seed oils. They're inexpensive, and I know a lot of us can't afford a lot, super expensive olive oils all the time. The stuff's crazy expensive. So go ahead and eat some seed oils, no problem at all. Okay? Unless it makes you feel crummy, stay away from it for a while. And that goes for anything. Even like broccoli can make some people feel crummy. Stay away from it for a little while because it's not necessarily good for you. Okay? And minimize your intake of ultra processed food, minimize your intake of deep fried food. Those things aren't bad for us because of the seed oils, but because of the overeating potential with ultra processed foods. And in deep frying, you're just overheating and destroying the oil, creating carcinogens and other oxidants for the body that it has a hard time processing. It can be hard to digest. Okay, so try not to freak out too much of this with this stuff. Don't necessarily have to believe the influencers in this, because while they're well-intentioned and trying to get us healthier, they're making it confusing. And we want to believe the science that's out there. So go ahead, let go of this one, de-stress a little bit now that you have some foundation and the truth of what seed oils are all about, and go ahead and live your happy, healthy life. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you next time.